Hey, Magic Mike here. I'm your wholesaler coach. I'm the people's stripper. I strip it down and show you how to do it in my business so that you can do it in your business. I teach people how to wholesale deals automatically. I've done over 110 real estate transactions since 2009. I currently do 2 deals a month and make about $10,000 per deal. And today I want to talk about not every lead is going to be a deal. This is a big problem that I see with people who've never done a deal before is, whatever lead that comes in, they want to turn that into a wholesale deal, and then they want to turn around and they want to market it off. It's not, there are going to be some leads you're going to have to pass up on, and it's about time management. So you spend a little bit of your time bringing the leads in, and then you pick the one that's really good, and you take that one, you start working it, and you start getting it under contract and then selling it. Because if you get a lead that comes in, as the story goes, you get a lead that comes in and they say something like, well, I'm not going to give it away. Or they give you something to where they're trying to shop it around. They're not going to give it to you at the price you need, where they need to get rid of it. They're the seller who wants to get rid of their property. So you take that in, you get it under contract, let's say $70,000. The ARV is $100,000, right? Not a really good deal. So while you're taking that property, normally you're getting leads coming in, you're sending out marketing. Now you're taking this property in that's not really good, and now you're trying to sell it to some people. And nobody's really going to buy it. And during that time, maybe 2 or 3 months, you're trying to sell a property, you're missing out on these leads that are coming in that might actually be a deal, And you've got to listen to some things that the seller tells you and know when to pull the trigger, when to not pull the trigger, when to pass up. Know when a seller is thirsty, like I talked about in a previous video, and know when they're not thirsty. And another thing I see, which I don't understand, is they'll get this property, like the same example, $100,000, it'll be the ARV. This guy will think that, let me just raise that up by $50,000. Let me say the ARV is $150,000. And then they'll start marketing it at $150,000 ARV, purchase price is $70,000. And I wonder to myself, like, what cash buyer is going to come around and say, oh, that's a good deal. Oh man, I could sell it for $150,000 and I can pay $70,000 for it. It doesn't make sense. These people have been flipping houses since before I was even born. I'm in a mastermind with people who have bought property, who have flipped property, rented it out, before I even won my first race. Like, do you think that telling this person that the ARV is $50,000 more than it normally is, or that it actually is, like they're going to come in and believe you? Like, they do this for a living. And also, when I see a property, I'm going to do my homework on it. I'm going to do my research. You can tell me, somebody I've never met can tell me that it's $150,000 for this property, and I go and do my research, and then I find out that it's not really $150, it's really $100. It just baffles me that you think you can just raise this number and have somebody come in and think that they can, that you're going to trick them. I almost got you there, it's really $100,000. I don't know if they're afraid to go talk back to the seller and renegotiate, bring that price down, or what. But for some reason I see people latch on to the first deal that comes out, and they try to get it under contract with what the seller wants, and then they try to sell it. You can't manipulate the ARV, you can't manipulate any of those numbers. It's got to be what they actually are. When you look up comps on a property, you've got to look up the crappiest crap comps in that neighborhood, and like the dumpiest house that is actually a flip property, an investment property, and use that house as the ARV. That way, if the ARV is really crappy and down here, and you get that dumpy property, the least you could sell it for would be that other dumpy property that was fixed up a little bit but didn't have the finishing touches, right? As opposed to that super 6-bedroom, 3-bath property that's super, super nice. You can't do that because if your property is not, if the comps aren't there, a realtor is going to come through and help that homeowner or that cash buyer out in purchasing that property. You know, you can't just manipulate numbers. And while you're working on this deal, that these leads are actually going to be really good leads coming in, people who need to sell coming in that you're going to miss out on. Because if you've never done your first deal, you're not running it like a business. You know, where I have a virtual assistant bringing leads in for me, where I only work on the deals that are motivated and that are actual deals. So while I'm out there, you know, on the buyer side, selling the property, getting it under contract, etc., I've got my virtual assistant on the other hand, bringing new leads in, managing them. I got my call center, bringing those new leads in, and you're not going to have that. It's a bigger problem than not having any leads at all coming in. You know, I'd rather you have no leads coming in. I'd rather you have nothing happening, because this is worse, because it's 3-4 months of time, you know, the most valuable resource there is, gone. And I can help you determine what deals you need to move on, what deals you need to pass up on, what sellers aren't motivated, which ones need to sell, and need to sell to anybody. And you can be right there. I can give you my Podio, all of my spreadsheets, all of my back office to see if it's a deal, actually determine what the ARV is, what you should even offer. But I can only give those things out to one-on-one coaching students. So if you want to be a one-on-one coaching student with me, you can go to the number one-on-one with Magic Mike, or you can click the link in the description. I'll see you on the inside.